What's up, everybody? Welcome on in. It's the Brass Ring Media Podcast for Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. What's going on? I'm Zach Haydorn. Happy to be here. That is your other host, Tyler Sage, who I think is also happy to be here. I think, right, Tyler? What's going on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Just had to no-sell you a little bit on that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man, maybe not. Jeez.
Yeah, we never talk about Collision on this show, really. And why would we, right? But we also don't talk a lot about SmackDown, just the way that it works the week. Did you see Brian Alvarez talking about, like, the Cash Wheeler and Roddy Strong stuff?
Yes,
So funny. So funny.
Oh,
I mean,
man,
he's a character, but he cracks me up when he really dislikes something. He's one of, like, the best caddy guys in the business, and I do appreciate that about Brian.
He is. Yeah, if you didn't see the match, first you have to go and watch it. It's the FTR match on Collision, and it's just a mess. You know, it's like I don't even know. Like, everybody knows how good those workers are, so it's like it's hard to like rip on it. But everybody also has bad days at the office. We all know how that feels, and this was definitely that for the four of those guys. No question about it. Blown spots, hilariously blown spots. It's just a bad day at the office, bad day at work for those guys. Yeah, and Alvarez does a nice job of breaking that down. But yeah, I mean, God, we should really like spend some time on FTR because there's some storyline stuff going on with them, and maybe we'll hit it a little bit here. I'm sure we will as we preview Dynasty. We will be talking AEW on today's show, like we usually do on our Thursday editions of the Brass Ring Media Podcast. We are a little earlier today, so hopefully you guys all found us. Just scheduling, had to hit live early. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. If you are watching on Twitter, hello. And if you're listening after the fact on your favorite podcast app, we're glad that you hit play, and we're thankful to have you. Reminds me, if you have not downloaded our podcast yet, go ahead and do that. Subscribe to our podcast. You can download them all the time. All of our live shows, all of our Brass Ring Media live shows that stream here on the One True Sport YouTube channel, air live on our podcast feed, Brass Ring Media. So search Brass Ring Media wherever you get your podcasts, and then we will you'll get all these shows, all of our shows as audio shows, including Robert Vallejos' shows and the Kick-Ass podcast on Saturday mornings as well. So not just us, but heavy dose of some other really, really good hosts as well. Hello to everybody in the live chat, Eddie and Brandon. Eddie's got a couple good questions there, and Brandon too. So we'll get to those, and we'll get to everything else that you guys throw our way. So hop in the super chat, mix it up, send us a question, send us a comment, anything. Any contribution amount helps us out greatly, and we'll make sure to get to it. The goal of today and the mission of today's show is we're going to preview AEW Dynasty, the pay-per-view on Sunday for AEW in full, match by match, like we do here on the Brass Ring Media Podcast, the show before our pay-per-view. So I'm looking forward to doing this, Tyler, and it's an interesting card, I think. It's got some good stuff on it. It also has some stuff on it that I think could be, on a rampage as well back in the day. But so I'm curious to break this thing down. We'll also be able to talk last night's episode of Dynamite as we preview this year. And we'll probably do more on Dynamite for our members on the member-only show this week too. So all of our members have that to look forward to. But let's start with kind of how we usually start our preview shows, and just give a high level on the Dynasty 2025 card, where you think it's at, and whether or not AEW has done a good job building this show, holistically.
Yeah, I mean, holistically, I would give it a thumbs down as a show. A lot of headwinds on that. It is kind of the redheaded stepchild of, Revolution, Dynasty, Double or Nothing, All In. Right? Am I missing a show in there? And probably a Blood and Guts. So,
this is like Wrestle Dream level stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Backlash. This is Balls of Fire. This is, Payback level event, right? And it always kind of has been from, obviously the first one historical with Swerve winning the title. But beyond that, and Ospreay and Davis. I guess if I can just drop 2 matches from the last pay-per-view of this name, that's pretty good actually. But but yeah, I mean it's in that zone. You're building up, your road to WrestleMania. This is the day 1 pay-per-view from a couple years ago, right? Equivalent. So at the top, I really liked what they've done. It's the most I've been interested in Jon Moxley as a character in months. And, Megan Bain feels very important. Tony Storm feels very important. The women feel very important on the show. Instead of being like 15% of the show, I feel like the women in general, the women's division is like 40, 45% of like what I care about as a viewer. And that is no small feat. And, you see the other companies not doing that exact thing either. So that's like the high level positive of the show. But yeah, I mean, do I care about the trios titles? Do I care about these tag titles? Do I care about Chris Jericho? No, certainly not. And there's some absolute dog crap on this card as well. So it's built pretty quickly. The top level stuff is working for me. The lower level stuff is very skippable. So it's one I'm not sure is going to like totally deliver a thumbs up before I even watch the show, like most AEW shows do with the work rate. But there's still a potential if the right stuff happens. It's a memorable show.
I agree with you. I think that that this show is a classic, B or C level pay-per-view. It's got some good stuff on it. The AEW World Championship match. I mean, the International Championship match is going to be strong. I'm looking forward to the women's title match just because I like what they've done with this kind of era of Tony Storm's reign. But after that, I mean, it really does fall off a cliff. I mean, all these other matches could be or have been like, television main events or not even main events. So that's where I think you see a steep decline when you go from, Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland to, Danny Garcia and Adam Cole. Like, I know that on paper, that feud has seen a lot of ups and downs, but the bottom line is it's just not very important. And they've had that match now 2 times on Collision, and no one's even really cared about it then. So, so you just have that going on. You've got your Owen Hart Cup tournament matches on this show. The first round of both the women's and the men's tournaments will start at Dynasty. We'll get in when we talk about those matches. We'll get into the brackets a little bit and break those down. But both of these matches, both of them that they're going to do on pay-per-view are not even the best first round matches, and they're on pay-per-view and not on television. So that's kind of the state of the show. The thing that I'm okay with is not every show should be Revolution. Not every show should be Double or Nothing. The problem is you're asking people to shell out the same amount of money for these shows. And so it's easier for WWE to do that when it's flat, $4.99 a month. For $50, you are responsible for delivering a little bit of a better card. And I don't think this quite fits that bill unless you're really interested in Swerve Strickland. So we're going to go match by match through this whole show like we normally do and preview everything. Before we do, I want to talk about Brass Ring Media membership. You can check out our membership options at patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and we've got a great group of members. We have regular membership that starts at $4 a month. We have a gold membership, which is more than that, but with more perks and more ways to interact with the show on a weekly basis and on a daily basis. But go to patreon.com/BrassRingMedia and check out what we offer. We offer a member-only show once a week. We offer all of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows we do for our members and our members exclusively. We give you full access to our Substack written newsletter that goes out almost every day. We also have a Discord community where all of our members hang out and so much more. So it's only $4. I hope you guys give us a shot. It's a great time to do it with Dynasty. You'll get the Dynasty review. And then also with WrestleMania coming up, lots of stuff planned for that week. I'll be in Vegas. It's going to be hopefully really, really fun and busy, I'm sure. But we'll do a ton of content and a ton of stuff for our members with that too. So the bottom line is become a member. Try us out. First week is free. Patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. I mentioned that super chats are open. We have others that have joined the live chat, and good to see everybody. Eddie and Zach are in there now too. So thank you. Well, once again, it's patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. All right.
Can I do two things before we get started?
Yeah, go.
So I looked at the ticket sales for Dynasty. It's probably going to be a pretty legit sellout, so that's good. Same thing as the last paper.
That's good.
Did you see the stuff about Max numbers for Dynamite?
Yeah. Talk about that.
I thought it was super interesting because it's like about the same as the cable ratings. So essentially, it's like the average is 1 million to 1.2 million people watching Dynamite between Max and cable. And then I don't know what Raw is doing on Netflix. I don't think anyone really knows besides what they decide to put out, if it's in the top 10 or whatnot. What's SmackDown been doing, like 1.6 still? I haven't been keeping track.
No. It's more like 1.4, 1.5.
Okay.
I think it was actually 1.3.
Yeah. So like, just saying, that's very interesting to me. Obviously, Raw is probably getting the most viewership out of all the shows, but even if that's a couple people like maybe watching on cable and then watching the replay, like that's not the same amount of people doing both, right? And it's like difficult to find it if you're not watching live on Max too. So like they don't do a good job like making that easy. Like if you go to the hub, they upload like just today they uploaded last week's Dynamite. You have to go to like the sports tab at the top and then find it in like the live or replay. The hockey game that was on TBS last night and AEW last night's episode. But if you go to the AEW hub, you can't find it. So all that is to say, like, I think the product is hotter than people want to admit, at least the Dynamite product. And that was, encouraging for wanting two companies to succeed in this business, but also kind of matches my ebb and flow of like, I think it's 2025 has been, night and day way better than 2024 had been from a booking standpoint. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
So Max numbers real quick. I just want to, and I think I know this, but those are international numbers, right? That viewership can come from anywhere.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it can come from anywhere. Yeah. I don't know if it's solely international, but
I'm sure it's not solely international, but if you're in Germany, you can get Max and watch Dynamite.
I don't know. I don't know that enough to just say that. I know they have some weird distribution outside North America.
Okay.
Okay. Because like I know there was like that was like an issue with a lot of the stuff before they had all the HBO stuff. Like somebody had the right to The Sopranos or something in other countries, so it was harder to like establish that. Like some places, it's better to have a VPN in another country, and it was best to have the VPN in America for HBO Max. I know that was the case when it first started out. So I'm going to assume, yes, you're correct, because that's a property that no one else had rights to, like a WWE would be on like a Sky Sports or something. But I'm going to say, yeah, but I don't have full confidence in saying that either. So
yeah. So I mean that context is important too. I mean, you're talking, a worldwide audience providing an extra 500,000 in viewership. But look, the bottom line is that's good. That's good for AEW. Tony Khan was on the media call for AEW Dynasty. He might even still be on it, but he was talking about that report from SC Scoops. And he didn't confirm it. He actually kind of like gave reason to doubt it, because he was like, I don't see actual numbers from AEW or from Max. So I'm not sure how that happened.
Well, SC Scoops is total garbage. But
that's where the report was from. The guy
was it from? Okay, I was that's just trying to think of where I saw it from. I thought I saw it somewhere else, too. But maybe they ran with SC Scoops. I didn't read it. So
yeah, it originated there. But I mean, Tony Khan didn't confirm it, but he didn't deny it either. He just said that he said that what that report indicated was in line with what he's heard, and that they're the top of the, kind of the
it doesn't surprise me.
Streaming list.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're beating NHL games in regular season NBA games. I think that is what I would have assumed to begin with. But if you're outside the business, I think that would be shocking to hear.
Yeah, and for sure. And I mean, I just think that, like, again, if you're talking international, like, I don't know how many people international. Well, I don't know. This is a whole other conversation that we can get into. But the bottom line, you've got a million people watching. You have a million people watching your product on a week-to-week basis. That's good. I mean, that's not a bad thing. And I think that, more than anything, the product has been better, unquestionably. Even if this pay-per-view, isn't, anywhere near an A-level event, product week to week has been good in terms of getting here. So let's get into the mix here. Let's start with those Owen Hart Cup tournament matches. We got Will Ospreay against Kevin Knight in the men's Owen Hart Cup first round match. The bracket shakes out like this. It's Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight on one side of the bracket, along with Brody King and Konosuke Takeshita. On the other side, it's Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher against Hangman Page. Or Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher, along with Hangman Page against Wildcard. I had high hopes for this tournament, and I feel like we're just back. We're like right where we started. There's a couple contenders here, and then a couple people who shouldn't be anywhere near the AEW World Championship. That's how this goes. Not a fan, but I am a fan of the in-ring that this tournament is certainly going to bring. It's got some players in it that can go, but in no way is this like what I had envisioned when you had Will Ospreay, MJF, Adam Page, all these guys talking about, headlining All In. The fact that MJF's not in this tournament, but Kevin Knight is, and the prize is a main event championship match at the biggest show of the year. There's something inherently wrong with that. Now, if you're listening to this, you're going to go, what about the Royal Rumble, Zach? And I'm going to say, you got me. I don't know what else to say, except the Royal Rumble is just different because the business of it is different. It just is.
I would say this is closer to Elimination Chamber because there's only 2 more spots. And Mark Briscoe and Kevin Knight
that too.
Would have no business in the Elimination Chamber match.
Correct. So I'm not a fan of that, but I do like a lot of the matchups from an in-ring, just watching wrestling, kicking back perspective. There's some good stuff in here, and especially if you start trying to predict the tournament, you get some really, really good stuff in that semifinal. So what do you think of the men's brackets overall? And then we'll get into predicting Ospreay versus Knight.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how long that will take, though.
Yeah, I love Mark Briscoe. Just like he cannot be in another tournament you want to take.
How does he get into all these tournaments?
Like a Continental without him, and then a tournament like this without him, it just oozes, more seriousness of top level guys, right? Like Brody King is on the super fringe, in my opinion, of this as a guy who doesn't really win any big matches, but is the big guy in the tournament. Makes sense, right? That's like the absolute bottom of even the Continental, right? If you want to do that the right way. So, I mean, you kind of know where you're going to go. I think the wild card is interesting, obviously. Somebody's usually pretty good about that. I think there's 2 ways that can go. And we'll see, because that match is not on this card, right? That's on TV.
Which one?
The Page and wild card.
No, that's not on this card. No.
Yeah, so I have an idea for that potentially, but we'll see. So that's fine. I mean, the semifinals will be great. And the finals will be good. It's kind of like, the ideal thing for like college basketball, which is right now like all the number 1 seeds against each other. If you're into that sort of thing, which I'm not, but that's probably exciting. So as opposed to you got to beat a Mark Briscoe in the Sweet 16 to get to Duke and Auburn. I don't even know who's in there. So that sort of thing is bound to happen. You would have preferred those semifinal matches to be on a pay-per-view. Will the final be on Double or Nothing? Is that too far away?
It's trending that way, but that is a long time away. Yeah.
So we'll see on that. So that's interesting. I mean, I'll feel better about it, like if I know that schedule, but we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, the All-In main event world title match is just a huge prize, and the fact that Kevin Knight gets a shot at it, but MJF doesn't, or even somebody like Cope, or like any of none of like there's such a huge gap between some of the guys in this tournament and who should be wrestling for the world title. It doesn't make sense, except that they want to do a tournament, and so people got to lose, and they don't want their
Okada.
I mean, that's what's happening here.
Yeah, Okada should probably be in there. In
Okada, yeah, there you go.
Kenny should probably be like, hey, I'll defend this title later. I want a world title shot too.
Yeah,
so
of course. I mean, absolutely. So, yeah, that's what's wrong with this. That's what's been wrong with these tournaments in AEW since they started existing. No difference here. We do have Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight. I mean, this is an easy one to predict, if you ask me. I mean, this is Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay has a pretty good chance of winning this entire tournament outright. So clearly he's not doing a job to Kevin Knight. I do think this will be a good match, but Tyler, pretty cut and dry as far as a winner here.
Yeah. Kevin Knight, do we know his contract status? He's probably like a 3-year pretty cheap deal from AEW standpoint.
I would assume, yeah.
How many, whether 10 pay-per-views a year? Does that sound right in AEW?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he's got 30 potential pay-per-views to be a part of on this contract. How many other singles matches will he have after this? Like, I'll give you like 1.5 as the over-under. Like, do you think it's higher or lower? Yeah. So, like, wow.
I'm confident in that under. Highly confident.
Yeah, singles matches, not tag matches. Doesn't even be a title match. Yeah, I'm confident in that under as well. So we'll see. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe he's like the next hot thing out of nowhere. So, but yeah, just Ospreay spotlight. I don't know, just like put Brody King in that spot. I'd rather see that match than this one. So yeah, it's weird, but Will Ospreay wins. Hopefully in like 9 minutes. All right, this does not need to go very well.
Yes.
So
no, absolutely, it absolutely doesn't. But I'm with you.
Worst pay-per-view match in his AEW career too, just because no one cares about. Everyone knows.
Kevin Knight can go, but
yeah,
I mean, there's just absolutely no drama in this, or the other match either in this tournament. So yeah, we're both taking Will Ospreay, and I think rightfully so. Let's go to the chat on some of this stuff. Let's see. Sean, our Brass Ring Media Gold member, Sean Palikta. Thank you to Sean for his gold membership. Thank you to Adam Kidd, and thank you to Andrew H for supporting us at the highest possible level of membership. We do appreciate it. Sean says here, the bracket should have been better. Why are Briscoe and Fletcher wrestling again? Yeah, these two have had like quite the showdown of matches, and now here they are again. Fletcher, I think, can reasonably be put in this tournament at this point. I mean, he's beat Will Ospreay. He's gone toe-to-toe with him. I think he's at that level where he could be in this tournament. But yeah, the Briscoe thing just is staggering, Sean. So I'm with you. I am with you on that. Sean also said here when he first jumped on, what's up, guys? The build last night wasn't great, and the show doesn't look super great either, other than the top 3 matches. Yeah, you echoed almost identical to what we said and giving our high-level analysis on this, Sean. Like, very top-heavy. Very, very top.
Yeah. Is the third match the international title?
The third match, I would think, I would put that as the second match. Third match, I'd put as like Storm and Bane, but that's me. Yeah,
I'm just saying, but like top 3. I mean, I think the 2 world titles were there easily, but I was just making sure we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, international title. Yeah, yep. And then Sean finally says here, puts his winner prediction out there. Sean says, Ospreay should win the whole thing. It sucks Jay White got hurt. So yeah, so this tournament would have had a little bit more juice in it if you had Jay White there. But Jay White has been so defined down that it would be only a little bit. I mean, he's kind of on the Kyle Fletcher level. Not quite, I don't think, but he's close. And yes, is that better than Mark Briscoe? Absolutely. But yeah, he's injured. So all right. Well, let's go to the women's bracket then. The women's tournament will kick off at Dynasty with a first-round match between Mercedes Moné and Julia Hart. Now, the bracket for this is on the left side, Jamie Hayter against Billy Starks is one match. Thunder Rosa against Chris Statlander is another. That's on the left side of the bracket. 2 first-round matches. The 2 first-round matches on the other side are this one, Moné against Julia Hart, and then Harley Cameron against Athena. So I think this tournament is much more like it's stacked up better from a technical standpoint in terms of like you actually have former champions and or current champions like in this tournament. Like it's not all your best women because Mariah May isn't in this, but outside of that, I think it has, a good chunk of your like former champions who are currently active-ish on the main roster. Jamie Hayter's a former champion. Thunder Rosa is a former champion. Chris Statlander is a former TBS champion. Mercedes Moné, current TBS champion. Julia Hart, former TBS champion. Athena, big ROH Women's World Champion. So I like this better, even though there are some omissions, same as on the men's side. But I do like this better holistically than the men's tournament from a star power standpoint. So talk about that, and also talk about the Athena and Monet match happening as a semifinal and not a final in this.
You're just assuming that Harley Cameron's not going to defeat Athena.
Yes. No,
Rude.
That's a spoiler. That's a spoiler.
Yeah, you assume Mercedes is going to win her first round match. Some stiff competition.
I'm sorry. I call it like I say.
Yeah, you and John Cena are trying to ruin wrestling, I would say, by just giving breaking kayfabe like this. You're right. A lot more star power, a lot more upper mid card people involved in vying for that title. But the flip side is, who's going to win the whole thing easily, right? Like if I could bet $100 and win $1, I'd probably bet on that still, that Mercedes wins this whole thing. The only thing there is for Mercedes to win this whole thing. Yeah. But, the only thing is like injury. That's like the only risk on that. So that's not exactly the same as the men's tournament, which I think can have some ups and downs depending on how things go, right? So
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, in the semifinal thing, like you got to take it out of the, 150,000 people that are like diehard on this entire sport and know like everything that's going on, because outside of that group, like nobody knows Athena and Mercedes is a match that they want to see. So this happening in a tournament match to me makes total sense as like to wet your whistle and build that for later of, hey, 6 months from now, pay-per-view, this can be a main event for the world title. And I want to see it again because they had such good chemistry. So that's fine with me. Like they have no interaction with each other. There's no reason that I should care about Athena if I don't watch Ring of Honor as a AEW fan. So the fact she's getting an opportunity here to have a good match, again, is this a double or nothing? Or is the final a double or nothing? I don't know. But the fact that it's probably a main event of Dynamite somewhere between Athena and Mercedes is a good thing for Athena. So I think that's the only way to look at it.
Yeah, I actually like this being done in this spot because I just don't think like Mercedes Moné, that's not the all-in match. Moné against Athena. It's just not. We've talked about it here. It's not that the match is bad. It's just that contextually, like no way. Like Mercedes is a Ring of Honor talent. Like there's no way she should be on the same level as Mercedes, like in terms of just like the canon of the show. She's not on the show regularly. So it doesn't make sense for her to kind of occupy that big spot. So Sean, I hear what you're saying as far as, building up Athena and having her win. But if she wins this, she's wrestling Toni Storm for the world title. And I think that's way too big of a leap. So here you get to do that match early. They've already kind of teased this rivalry with Athena and Mercedes Moné. You get to do it. You get to show people that watch Dynamite actually like why Athena is important. And then you can do enough. You can do a rematch down the road. You can do it at Double or Nothing. But then you can get Mercedes into a match that she needs to be in at the biggest show of the year, which is All In against Toni Storm. That's the match. And so I don't, if WWE television will teach you anything the last 4 months, when you have the match, do it and don't mess with it. Just do it. Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley would both tell you that right now. Instead, they have a totally different thing going on. Same thing here. Just do that match, get there, and go. All right, we've got some chatter about this in the live chat. I'm getting beat up, but here we go. Let's see. Let me find these these Scud missiles you guys are firing at me. Zach says here, I can't believe Mercedes versus Athena for the first time would be a semifinal match on free TV. But Zach, like, that's because you know who Athena is, and that's because you pay attention to Ring of Honor. Not many people do. I mean, really, not a lot of people do. So I don't know how much that matters outside of, a very, 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 very small bubble. Sean is on Zach's side. Mercedes should not win. Build Athena up and have her win. But I wouldn't have had Athena and Mercedes in a tournament match. Well, that's true. All of this is a bit of a false choice. Sean also says, Zach, you have to make Athena a big deal. That's why we wanted her here. True. But is she going to supplant Toni Storm? Is she going to supplant like your current top crop of AEW women? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe she should or she shouldn't, but I just don't think that's in the cards. Like, I don't think people are salivating, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, at Athena against Toni Storm at all then.
They're not. I'm glad. No offense to everybody, but especially with women's booking, with like people in the community and Zach and I, if we were on a booking committee, I think we'd have a lot of like knockdown, drag out fights on how we see certain talents. Megan Payne and Athena, you guys are way higher on than I am, at least for like the positions they should be put in. I think they've been put in the exact correct position by Tony.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. Like, I try to. It's not that like, oh, I love Athena or I love Megan Payne. It's just, does that make sense for for where things are at right now with the division and the card and who's champions and whatnot. And I just don't think Athena. I don't know. I just, she's a big fish, or she's like a small fish in a small pond right now with ROH. And yeah, she's done some good work there, but nobody's really seen it. And it hasn't mattered. It hasn't moved the needle. People don't watch ROH to see her. People aren't, it's not like she's driving like a whole bunch of business over there. So like
my rule of thumb on this is like, I trust Tony a lot right now on like if something is working or not working, on how much it's on television, right? Like the whole thing of, remember when FTR like just disappeared off the face of the earth, and now they're like kind of back, and it's like bad in a lot of ways, and it's like kind of proving that they should have not been utilized in a high level mode. Like everything going on in Ring of Honor is like kind of off to the side to placate people. Jericho is not good right now, and he's over there like doing his thing, but it's not on the main show for a reason because it's not good. Like besides Cope, I think Tony has done a good job putting his best foot forward with his 2 hours on Dynamite every week. And if you don't fit that category, there's some reason behind it, and it's typically something that I'm aligned with on why it's not on that broadcast also.
Yeah. Good point. And yeah, so I just think it remains to be seen with Athena. We'll talk more about Megan Payne here in a minute. Sean says here, my issue that I'm getting to with AEW is build people up if they're newer to the main audience and stop rushing people into the title picture if they aren't ready. Interesting. I think this will pertain a lot to the conversation we have in a little bit about Megan Payne. We got 2 super chats on this topic of the women's Owen Hart Cup Tournament. First, they're both from Zach. And Zach says here, Zach, you owe Harley Cameron an apology, Mr. Haydorn. She is not annoying. She is annoying. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, you can't do the shtick that she's doing and want to be a top star in wrestling, in the whole entire business. You can't. I mean, I don't think walking around with a puppet, it's funny and will give you some chuckles, but when I saw Harley Cameron cut some of those sit down promos and be serious, like that to me is the showcase of an actual bigger star. And so I do find it unbecoming and annoying when she like reverts back to silliness with Mercedes Moné and a puppet. I'd rather see her figure out that other more serious character to do more, because I think there's an upside there, but not if she consistently shoots at a low level for kind of cheap laughs and funny haha stuff. So I apology, you're not getting that from me today. Tyler, where are you on Harley Cameron? Am I right? Am I wrong? Whose side you take?
Well, you're entitled to your opinion first and foremost. So there's no right or wrong in this business.
Fair.
There's just what's over and what's not over, I would say more so. I find her delightful in her role, but it's very low stakes too. Is she the Mark Briscoe of this tournament? Yes. Is she the least serious competitor of the tournament? Yes. But like when she appears on my screen, do I like smile and have a good time? Yes, right. And from the promoter standpoint, I'm not offended by that because unless she's ever going to become a good wrestler, which I think is certainly a possibility based on the lack of experience that she has, I would like within reason, right? Because you don't want to be typecast, right? You don't want to be like a Danhausen type character or a Damian Sandow. No. And she's on path for that currently. So you can do this for like a little bit, but if you do think there's any upside whatsoever, you have to stop it soon and have her like at least be different with that and have like the puppet be like an evil character telling her what to do when she doesn't want to. And that's what forces her to like cheat in matches and like change it a little bit. Like if they do something like that down the line, then I'm open to it as like her advancing as a character. But I think Tony also thinks like there's probably not, I don't know what Tony thinks in general about lots of stuff, but he probably thinks like this is like a fun thing to have and she's not gonna be my world champion. So whatever. I don't really care if she like typecasts herself and is doing this on the indies in 10 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of on her and on AEW and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I just don't think it's like that big of a deal currently because I don't think Harley Cameron long-term is like a crucial character for AEW. But if I'm wrong, then, you know, what is this, her Mankind moment with Mr. Sacco? That got over, right? So, like, that's just the point of, like, if you're an all-time talent, you can get anything over. And I don't think Harley Cameron is an all-time talent, but I do think there's some potential there. And I do enjoy when she's on the screen.
Okay. I mean, look, I'll believe when I see it. Like, it's not, and again, it's not that I don't think she's funny. Haha. Like, yeah, I'll get a chuckle out of it, but I'm just like, just no, thank you. Adam Kidd, our another gold member, says yawn. I don't know what this is necessarily in reference to, Adam, but in my head, it's in reference to Harley Cameron, just to prove my point. So thank you.
It was. I know what it was. I was watching the chat. It was Adam said that FTR was cold and boring, and
they won't be. Oh, okay.
They won't be
kicking my
Sunday.
But okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Fine.
I just had to make sure.
It wasn't for Adam.
Yeah, I had to defend my point there too. So you put me on the spot defending Harley.
Damn it. All right. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for your membership and thanks for joining the show. Well, I'll get to more of your chats here when we talk FTR because I know you got some good ones in there. Tracy has jumped in with a super chat on this and says the tournament is a perfect way to get Athena some time to show her stuff and for Harley to be more serious. Now that I agree with. I think Athena it deserves a spot in this tournament. Like I said, it makes sense. She's an ROH women's champion. Like and she's got this little feud with Mercedes going on. So I definitely agree that putting her in this makes sense. I think putting Harley in it, if they're going to treat it the way that they've treated the men's, they're going to have spots like this. It's the spot that you said, Tyler, that Mark Briscoe is currently occupying in the men's tournament. So she can gain a lot from this, but drop the puppet. Thanks, Tracy. Appreciate it. Adam says it applies to both. Okay, good.
There you go. Good. Saved both arguments.
Whew, saved us. All right. Well, more to come on this tournament. Obviously, we'll be discussing this as the weeks go on. And there's some good potential for some good matches for sure. Zach's other super chat is in regards to Tony Storm and All In. So we'll jump right ahead and we'll just preview Megan Bayne versus Tony Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. Zach's comment on the tournament and Tony Storm says, I have to disagree. Mercedes versus Tony sounds like a good idea, but it's really not. AEW would screw themselves putting both women's titles on one person. So, Zach, in this scenario, you are predicting that Tony Storm does not lose the championship to Megan Bayne. Tyler, I think that's a all but certain outcome that she does not lose to Megan Bayne this weekend at Dynasty. I think Toni Storm is going to win. I think Megan Bayne is just put in this spot to be a monster heel that Toni Storm beats. And I am 100% okay with that. There's some chatter I know about Megan Bayne and being brought in, and it's too early. And you got to feed your baby faces heels. It's what I get on WWE about a lot, where you don't build up heels well enough. AEW too, for your babyface champions. And here, I think AEW has done a really good job with that. I think that they've planted the seed of Megan Bayne as this unstoppable monster badass. She's beat Willow. She's beat Chris Statlander. She's beat others on the roster. She's got a lot of wins, and now she takes out Toni Storm, and that's it. Party's over. Toni Storm comes in and wins. That's how wrestling goes sometimes. And so I am absolutely fine with this match going down that way. If this one loss hurts Megan Bayne, then Megan Bayne was never it to begin with. And I'm fine with this. This is Toni Storm's time to rule. This is her time for a run. And in order to do that, other people have to lose. That's the bottom line. And I'd rather have AEW feature some top heels that get beat than do, Toni Storm against Serena Deeb, just so, Toni Storm gets a win, but it's over essentially nobody. This match has some consequence to it. And I like that. And I like that pivot for AEW as a whole. The same thing holds true in the main event with Jon Moxley and Swerve. If Jon Moxley wins, well, hey, I don't think that's the right move, but at least, you're beating somebody of consequence. You're beating somebody that matters. And so the whole match has some meaning. And I think this has an element of that. And I just would prefer that over some random, mid-carder of the month jumping up and getting a title match for no reason. So that's my take. And obviously I'm predicting Toni Storm here.
Yeah. I mean, the moniker for Megan Bayne, you can call her Tugboat. You can call her Earthquake.
Yes.
Call her, who else am I missing there? 80s monsters that Hogan were set
Hogan, I mean, even like Cena has had it, like Umaga Cena, where they did those matches. Like same thing. Big Show, yes.
All that stuff. Mark Henry.
Yep.
Mark Henry. That's what she is, and that's fine. And there's more to build there. And if it's worth it, it's worth it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been booked really well. I think Megan Bayne post this is still like a force to be reckoned with. And like if she's in this Owen tournament, she would be my pick to go to the final on that left side of the bracket. And she's new to the company. And she's been put in a position where I think that as a fan. So I think it's all about the booking. And, Toni has not been able to book big, monster heels at all. So I would build that into your anticipation of what her career looks like in AEW. Now I hope I'm wrong there, but I wouldn't expect too much either and give your hopes up. Of any monster heel in modern wrestling. I think that's a really hard thing to book in modern wrestling. And Nia Jax is probably a better example of that because she sucks.
Monster heels lose. They lose. Yeah. They always lose.
Yeah. So that's the point, right? So, and on the other part of putting the titles on one person, obviously everyone knows where I stand on that. Just as a thought exercise, the TBS championship, has that been necessary for its entire life in AEW? I mean, what's the lineage? Jade to Chris to Mercedes? Is that it?
Jade to Chris to Julia Hart had it for a little while.
Okay. And then Mercedes got off of Julia?
I think
she was injured in Mercedes won a tournament?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So
that's what it was.
I mean, Jade left. It didn't help Chris Statlander. It didn't help Julia because she got hurt. So I guess that's an incomplete grade. And then Mercedes, I mean, whatever. She's Mercedes. I don't think that's mattered that she's had that thing one way or the other. So I wouldn't be opposed if we combine those titles and combine the international continental title And those are one thing. You can always bring something back later if you want, but the division works better for me with lots of stars like it currently has, going for one title and then having feuds below that is a much better structure. So I think that would be the best case scenario.
Me too. And I mean, I agree. But I also would say this, Zach, July is a long way away. So, there's nothing that says Mercedes can't win this tournament, get her shot at All In, and lose the TBS championship before then in some way. Now, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying it's April 3rd. There's 3 months plus before All In. So a lot of time. Sean says here in the live chat, Zach, fun discussion, but do you trust Tony to do something with Megan? I don't. And that's the problem. I guess I just am not there on Megan Bayne. She's not somebody that I think you worry about here. That's where she's at. She is a supplemental talent who's going to get this main event match, hopefully get paid nicely for it. And then I don't know what happens after, but I would not be concerned about that if I was Tony Khan. I'm concerned about Tony Storm. That's the focus. So I just don't put that much stock in Megan Bayne, I guess, Sean. And if you do, great. If you do, then yes, this isn't necessarily a great spot for Megan Bayne because she's certainly going to do a job. But that's not the priority in my eyes. And Megan Bayne's not on that level in my eyes yet. And this is about where she should be at this point. So that's what I would say to that, Sean. Tyler?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And no notes in addition to that.
All right. Zach says, how would she be a force to be reckoned with if she obliterates Tony Storm for weeks only to just lose? Vader lost, but that was after a year title run. Yeah, again, Megan Bayne's not Vader. I just can't. I don't know. I can't. I don't know if she'll ever be a main eventer again. She's just not. That's not her. To me,
it's like any other competition, right? Like, let's say the Eagles look good all season, right? And if you're the, Pittsburgh Steelers, who didn't make the playoffs, but were 8-9 or 9-8, and they beat the Eagles if they played, right? That's kind of what I feel like here. They're still if they lose to the Eagles, doesn't mean they're the worst team in the league, but they are the 20th best team in the league or whatever. And that's kind of where Megan Bayne is, and they got the shot, and they can still run roughshod on Thunder Rosa the following week, and it feels totally fine and natural. So I think you're going for number 1 and you lose. That doesn't mean you can't take out number 11 easily. And I think that's just the mindset to have.
Yeah. And Sean says here too, I'm not saying that I love Megan Bayne, but they have built her up as such, meaning a monster. And I think they've built her up really well. But that build up doesn't always mean sustained build. She's built up for a reason.
Yeah.
Built up to be a challenger for Tony to beat. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is so funny. I know this didn't happen, but what if Braun Breaker came from NXT last summer and they built him in this way to take on Cody? Would we all think he's going to beat Cody?
Right.
So I don't think so. And I don't think it would hurt Braun Breaker either to be put in that spot. But they chose not to. Right. And it's still working out. So it's just 2 ways to go about this sort of character. And I think both are valid. But, Tony Storm is Cody Rhodes. And at least Zach and I think that. And I think Tony Khan thinks that as well. That she's his female generational talent. She's the first huge, as homegrown. I know she's not homegrown, but nobody's homegrown. To me, when her career's over, she's more of an AEW person. That was a huge star in AEW than out of any other woman that's worked for that company. And Mercedes, I think, is always going to be Sasha Banks. She's always going to be a WWE person, no matter what she does. But Tony, I think, is a fully AEW person. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. I want to shout out Andrew H., our other gold member. I can't put up all of these messages, but it's a hilarious.
Don't do the one that I have to respond to that's not about wrestling, because I have to if you pull that one.
I know I won't. I'm not gonna. No, I won't pull that up. But I just like the conversation about Vader is hysterical.
Okay,
And, so if you're watching this passively, jump into the live chat.
Yeah,
check
I
it
would
out.
say
Very
tell Megan Bain to get her ass on Boy Meets World, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, what a cameo! What a cameo! All right, let's fly through the rest of this card because a lot of it you can fly through. Unfortunately for it, the AEW World Tag Team titles are on the line. The Hurt Syndicate defending against the Learning Tree. This was made yesterday on Dynamite, where Big Bill and Brian Keith squash a team of jobbers, and then because of course they have to have the a title match after that. I think the Hurt Syndicate are awesome, and I think they just like. I don't even know if they care about doing business with anybody right now because they're just burying left and right whoever they work with in the best way possible. They are just worried about themselves. But I Hurt Syndicate to win this. I'm sorry, Brian Keith, but you're losing to Bobby Lashley here.
Yeah. Well, and like that's them being baby faced over time, which I think is the best. Yes. Right. With MJF opposite of them, opposite Bobby at some point. They're getting baby faced based on who they're competing with here, so that's good.
We've got the TNT Championship. It's no time limit. There's no outside interference. Now, it should be a given for all matches, but I guess this is special. Daniel Garcia against Adam Cole for the TNT title. Goodness, how the mighty have fallen. I have not been a fan of this. Mostly it's taking place on Collision, which isn't really good for it anyway. But I just don't buy it. I don't buy any of it. I mean, no time limit, no outside interference. It's like, that's a weird stipulation when that's kind of like the rules of engagement anyway. I do think Adam Cole wins. I mean, Daniel Garcia as champion has been just an epic facepalm of a disaster. I don't know what Adam Cole can do with this title at this point, but if you do think that he has something left in the tank for you at a higher level, he certainly can't be doing, losing this title match to Daniel Garcia. So I'll take Cole, and they'll take the chances with him and see what happens. But I'm not expecting much out of this one. I'm taking Adam Cole though.
Yeah, I will too. I could care less about this. I think Tony Khan, if you gave him Truth Serum, would regret if there was a competition to sign Danny Garcia, whatever, like 6 months ago. Was it that long, that soon? Like, man, I'd be regretting that decision. And then also, like, certainly not re-signing Adam Cole for any reason. That's what I'm thinking about, like, with this on the card. Is like, well, these guys are. You can tell that in Tony's booking too. Like, long term, he's like throwing Woody away, like in Toy Story. Like, I'm done playing with you. Those are the vibes I get with these two big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam says here, is this a delayed April Fool's joke on me? I feel like Adam, like, kind of have to retire the live chats today. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. I chuckled when that came.
I mean, that's the one you picked here. That's what he's talking about. You're not picking any of his super chats. So
that's what, yeah.
Yes. And then you pull that one. So you just rub it. You're slamming him in the glass even deeper.
Sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Adam, I'm smiling every time you pop me in the chat, so just know that's usually you when I'm cracking a smile. Right,
that's what our members do, you guys. All right, let's see. Let's keep going here. The ROH World Championship is on the line. Who would have thought? Chris Jericho defends against Bandito in a mask versus title match. Tyler, who you got?
I don't know, man. I think I have Bandito. But I think Bandito would be served tremendously having his mask off. Having seen him, he's a beautiful man in person. I think that would help him a lot. Beautiful man. So that would help. So yeah, I don't care either about this at all. This is a title that I don't see except for a couple times on TV if they decide to do it. So I don't know if you like the hierarchy. If you like, what do you care more about, the trios title, the TNT title, or the ROH World title? That's the devil's trinity right there of belts I could care less about. Probably TNT, ROH, and trios 1, 2, 3. That what I care about. But yeah, so I don't really care. And we'll get to the next one.
I don't care either.
I guess I'll say Bandito because Jericho probably is itching to get back on TV, regular TV.
I'm gonna say Jericho, just like, and this is just a fundamental. I just don't think you should be doing ROH world title changes on like an AEW show. Like it just is so silly to me that you don't take advantage of your actual ROH shows, which there's going to be one in like a couple months. So I'll go Chris Jericho just for shits and giggles, but that's the only reason. This feud, if you've watched Dynamite, you've seen a little bit of it, but it's really been almost non-existent, and there's not a lot of analysis to really do because it's just kind of there. It's just kind of there. All right. Death Riders against Rated FTR. World Trios Championships are on the line. We know that FTR are not on the same page. Cash Wheeler wants to talk with Dax Harwood after this match. Trouble with FTR. Tyler, you care about these titles about as much as I do. Not much at all. Do you give them the FTR here? Do you put like is that a means to is that a means to kind of like keep them together a little bit longer or push their breakup down the road? Like what's happening here? Who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Death Riders to make Moxley remain strong in the main event and make you think that Swerve's not going to win. Hopefully that's what they're trying to tell the story of to then have it be a big win. But yeah, I mean, this is Christian and Edge versus FTR at All In, right? That's the only thing that makes sense in this story. Because man, if there's anything more uninspired of Adam Copeland with FTR, it's them being trios champions and taking on like the Crew or whatever to defend those things on Collision. So yeah, not good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you do it. You keep the titles on Death Riders just for Jon Moxley more than anything, and figure out the rest. And also FTR losing here, whether it's they turn on Cope or Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler can't be on the same page. Like you've got a lot of doors that you can walk through in terms of like making that loss make sense. So I'll take that.
Maybe Moxley convinced them to put these things in a briefcase so you don't see them anymore if they win. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Then we got Kenny Omega versus Mike Bailey versus Ricochet for the AEW International Championship. I mean, there's no build to this, like outside of it's the title, and you have Bailey and Ricochet gunning for it. Not a lot of personal build, person to person here. I do think this is going to be a heck of a match, and I do think you're looking at the obvious match of the night here. There's a lot of talent in that match, and with All In looming and Okada out there and Tony Khan's determination to do Okada versus Omega again, and smartly, I'm taking Omega here. I think poor Mike Bailey is probably going to do the job, but I think that's probably the right move given the circumstances. So I'm taking Kenny Omega, but I really think this is going to be a hell of a match in the ring.
Yeah, I'm excited for this in ring, bell to bell, like you said. Probably not my most anticipated match, bell to bell, but close. And yeah, you're 100% right. And hopefully Ricochet goes at least once or twice on the card because he pops me when he does that. So, but yeah, it should be very fun. And obviously Kenny wins. Maybe you probably don't have Okada present himself just yet, but yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say more about Okada and Omega, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that once they book that match. All right, and then we've got finally, last but not least, Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland, AEW World Championship. I think there's a lot of different ways this could go. After the angle that opened last night's show with with Swerve beating on the team of with Willow beating Marina Shafir and Moxley, I was like, oh man, they just gave away like the finish to the main event. Like that was so dumb. But then later in the show, I thought they did a much better job of shielding that. Like with Swerve chasing down
Moxley, and then having that little encounter with Adam Page. I think they tossed a whole mess of confusion as to who's going to win this, and I think that's really, really, really smart. So I loved the finishing touch on this build. I think they've had good promos together. The crowd is firmly on Swerve's side. They're anti-Moxley. That's exactly what you want. So I think that they did a really nice job wrapping this all up last night. I'm going to take Swerve Strickland to win here. Yeah, and that changed last night. Changed it for me. Because I just think that there's an avenue now to like maybe that there was a pivot made with that Adam Page thing. It just makes me think that like you don't do that if that's not in the cards, whether it's a match or Page helping him out, to win in the end, to fight off like some Death Riders or something like that. I just don't think you do that on accident. So I'm gonna take Swerve Strickland. I won't be surprised if Jon Moxley wins, but I'm gonna take Swerve. How about you?
So yeah, you're so
we'll
right.
Talk about last night too.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna save that for the Patreon show because A, you got to run.
Okay.
And B, I have a lot to say on this, but I think there's two options here. I think Swerve wins, or he is absolutely screwed over, like unceremoniously, like more so than AEW's ever done to somebody, of like people running out one by one, and like near fall. It's just like the crowd is just like throwing stuff in the ring, pissed at the end that Moxley retained. Then Swerve Strickland is your wild card, takes on Adam Page, wins the Owen, and goes all the way and wins at All In, which that means Moxley's went the champion till All In, which I don't love. So I think Swerve winning through the overcoming the odds is the more cogent story. And yes, Page helping, and then Page wanting to win the Owen and then take on Swerve as wrestling soulmates, essentially, of like guys who will always be fighting but can band together, very much like Vegeta and Goku, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, which I'm sure Tony Khan did. He's the right age for it.
Sure he did, yeah.
That's the vibe I get between these two. And they can take on the evil of the universe and then fight each other afterwards. Is kind of the vibe I get. So I think Swerve wins. I really hope Swerve wins. This has been a good, quick build. And I think the company's way better for it. I'm not as I'm forever done with Tony Khan as a booker if Jon Moxley wins, because I see a path here. But I do think it's the wrong decision to have Swerve lose here.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, and we will talk more about this on our Patreon exclusive show for our members. So don't miss it. Don't miss it.
And the Patreon exclusive pay-per-view post show. We'll talk a lot about what actually happened to it. That's good.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be this weekend. Don't miss it, guys. That's Dynasty. I hope you enjoyed the show. We certainly enjoyed doing it. Thanks to everybody who joined in. Adam, I do not hate you, no matter what your message here says. Absolutely not. Thank you so much to Adam Kidd, Sean Palikta, and Andrew H. for they are our gold members of Brass Ring Media. We appreciate it. Thanks to our super chatters, Zach and Tracy. Appreciate you guys. Once again, if you want to check out our membership and hear more about Dynamite last night and get our review show for Dynasty this weekend, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media is how you do that. $4 a month gets you membership and gets you in the door. Do it now. For Tyler, I'm Zach. See you later.